Hey guys, this is Drake from the Unspoiled Hunter with another video for you here. This video is going to be 10 things that you need to get started hunting. By no means is this going to be an all-inclusive list. I'll probably do a few more lists to follow that will be similar to this. So we'll go ahead and get into it. The first thing that you need to start hunting is a regs book for your local area. Now, when it comes to a regs book, I always want to have a paper copy. You can, in most states, get an online copy. You can download a PDF, or you can find it available on DNR's website. I don't like doing that because quite often I find, at least in South Carolina, I've seen they just fail to update some of the pages, and you end up with not the most accurate information about the hunting regs. Now, when it comes to the regs here in South Carolina, they combine hunting and fishing into one booklet. You can usually pick those up for free through either a DNR station or you can get it from Walmart. Here in South Carolina, they're available at the gun counter at Walmart completely free. With the regs book, you need to read it front and back. You need to read the whole thing. Whether you think a certain section applies to you or not, you need to read the whole thing. Oftentimes, you'll find something in a section that you didn't even think was applicable to you, and it turns out it was, and it just was in a section that didn't make any sense for it to be there. But every once in a while, they'll throw a rule in there in a section that somehow applies to you, even though you weren't doing that thing that that section covered. So make sure you just read the whole thing so that you have a good understanding of the regulations in your area. We're going to do a more in-depth video here in the future where I'm going to show you how to look at the regs book and figure out how that translates to where you can actually go hunt. That's going to be a much more in-depth video. For now, just surface level. You need to read your regs books and understand what you are and are not allowed to do. All right, so in at number 9, the next thing that you need in order to start hunting is a weapon that you know well. And this could be bow, could be crossbow, could be muzzle loader, could be rifle, whatever it is that you find an interest in and you like the way that the hunting regs are set up for that weapon. That's the weapon you should go use. Use the one you're interested in. Me personally, I really like rifles. I find rifle ballistics really fascinating. So I started rifle hunting. I also have some bows. I will get a muzzle loader at some point. I also have a straight wall cartridge. If I ever go to a state that requires straight wall cartridges, we'll have another video explaining what that means later. I really like rifles, and you don't need to spend a ton of money. I have some very budget rifles that I've spent $300 on, $400, maybe $500 on. And then sometimes I like to get something really nice, but you don't need something really nice. You can go hunting with that $400 rifle just fine. For example, this one right here, this is my 6.5 Creedmoor. Yes, it's got this cool orange camo Cryptek to it. You don't need to do that. I did that for fun, just to see if I could do it. That's a $400 rifle right there. I originally bought that one for my wife so that she could go hunting with me. That's why I got a 6.5 Creedmoor, because I knew she'd be able to handle the 6.5 Creedmoor. And then it just shot incredible groups out of this $400 rifle. So now I love hunting with that one too. But again, that's like a $400 rifle right there. The next one I've got to show, this is my 350 Legend AR. Again, this is a straight wall cartridge like I mentioned before. This is a Bear Creek Arsenal upper. These uppers, like $250 on a Anderson lower. This Anderson lower was $30. All together with all the things on this rifle, scope, stock, everything, is maybe $500 right here. And then if you really want and you really do get into it, then you can start stepping up to something nice. I built this AR-10 completely by myself, with including the suppressor, scope, and nice barrel. There's probably $2,500 into this rifle right here, but you don't need something like this to go hunting. You can certainly pick up a $400 rifle and $100 to $200 scope. That's not what this is. This is like a $500 scope. But this one over here has like a $200 to $300. That's like a $100 scope right there. You don't need something super expensive. You need something that you know well and you understand, and you took it to the range and you practiced, and you know when you pull the trigger that it's going to hit the deer exactly where you wanted it to hit. All right, number 8 at things that you need to get started hunting is onX. Now, there's other options out there. There's Hunt Stand, there's Go Hunt. You could even just use paper maps and a compass if you'd like. I really like onX. It's the one that I started using when I first started hunting. Um, it's a mapping software that shows you who owns the land, and it shows you where the public land is that you're allowed to go and access. And it also identifies the name of the public land so that you can go and look in the regulations book and see the regs for that specific property, that specific set of land. And then you can use it to see all those land boundaries so that you don't cross over into someone's private land by accident. Um, onX is just so super useful. There's so many tools on there. We'll do a video at some point where I show you how to use onX in a lot of detail, but there's just so much you can do with onX. And honestly, one of my favorite pastimes is just to open up onX and go looking through some areas, some maps, and go take a look at what the terrain looks like in certain areas, and mark down some places that I want to go try. And really, onX has saved my life several times. I can't tell you how often you'll be walking through the woods and you could swear that you've been going in a straight line the whole time. Then you look down at your onX GPS and you realize I've been going in circles for an hour. So onX has saved me, and I pay, I think it's like $95 a month, or sorry, $95 a year for it. Um, but the amount that I use it is so much. And the fact that it saved my life before makes that $95 absolutely worth it. And there's a lower version that you can get that I think is $30 a year. There's just a little bit less features on that version, but I get the onX Elite. That's the $95 a year. Absolutely worth it for someone like me. But if you want to just start hunting, get that $30 a year version, and they even have discounts sometimes. Sometimes it's like $15 for your first year. So if you're just trying to get started hunting, go try out onX. All right, number 7 things that you need to get started hunting is something to keep the bugs off. Now, this isn't applicable to every state, but here in the South, there's just swarms of mosquitoes. I tried a different product once, and I went out in the woods with this new product on, and it didn't work. And I swear to God, it wasn't hundreds. It was literally thousands of mosquitoes swarming all over me. I had bites all over the place. It was a terrible time. You need some way to prevent that. Um, when it comes to summer scouting, I usually use something with DEET, which is that really high chemical stuff that keeps mosquitoes off. You don't really want to use that for actual hunting season because it smells a lot, and deer are going to smell that. During hunting season, I usually use a product called Ranger Ready, which is a scent free. They do have some scented versions, but I use the scent free version of Ranger Ready, which does keep the bugs off, and it doesn't have that very heavy scent like DEET has. And then the other option is Thermacell, which is like a little heat plate that burns these little pads, and the smoke that comes off. The mosquitoes don't like the smoke that comes off. That's another option that a lot of people use for hunting. Really, you just need something to keep those bugs off, because one, you don't want to get sick from whatever those bugs are carrying. Two, you don't want the constant just swarm of bugs. And three, there's a lot of movement involved in swatting all those bugs off of you. And that movement is going to get you spotted by a deer for sure. So you're much better off having something that might smell a little bit, but it keeps you from moving to swap all those bugs. And you really need that to go hunting in order to keep those bugs off. All right, the next one that you need is a good pair of boots. And this one goes back to something my uncle told me when I was growing up. And he said, never skimp on something that keeps you connected to the ground. Now, that's boots, that's tires, that's a good mattress. Anything that keeps you grounded, you spend good money on it. I have these snake boots that I always wear here in the South. You need snake boots. There's snakes everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've stepped on or next to a snake. Or a few weeks ago, I almost fell onto a copperhead, like face first into a copperhead. But that's a story for another time. You need some good boots. You need something that's waterproof. Um, and that way you can get past some of those minor water features so that you can get in a little bit deeper to these harder to find locations because let's be honest, the deer are moving past those water features, so you need to be able to move past them too. I also have another product that's essentially some waterproof waders that go over those boots because the boots that I have are no longer waterproof. Turns out those boots can only last waterproofing wise about a year or so. The boots themselves last much longer, but the waterproofing doesn't last much longer. So I have these products that it's essentially, it kind of looks like a plastic bag that goes over your boots all the way up to your hips so that you can walk through and not get wet. Um, it's really going to depend on where you are and what kind of boot you need. Because like when I went to Wyoming to go hunt, I'm not going to wear my big long snake boots. I wore some hiking boots when I did that, and a lot of the times when I go scouting, I just wear hiking boots. But here in the South, when it comes to hunting, it's definitely beneficial to have some snake boots. All right, the next thing that you need to go start hunting is a good quality backpack. I've been using for years now the Navy Standard Issue Boot Camp backpack. It's a great backpack. I love that thing. It could go through hell and back and not be destroyed. One of them I had for 10 years since I joined the military. I've picked up a couple more of them ever since then because they're just such good, useful backpacks. You need something good to carry all your gear, and you need something that's going to distribute your gear weights well, especially when you're going up in the mountains. I don't do a whole lot of mountain hunting, but I have been on a couple mountain hunts. Um, you need something to distribute that weight because you're going to end up carrying a lot, especially when I get into my next subject, which is going to be water. You're going to carry a lot of weight. So you need something to be able to carry it properly. Number four of things that you need to go start hunting is water. Water, water, water. So much water. If you think you have enough water, you're wrong. You always need more water. I usually carry 4 liters of water when I go hunting, and usually I also carry some little packets of electrolytes as well. You're gonna go through a lot of water with carrying weight and climbing trees and climbing mountains. You're gonna just burn through way more water than you would ever imagine. In my truck, I always keep a several bottles of extra water stowed away in the truck. I also keep a big 5 gallon bucket of water. Sorry, it's like a water cooler that's 5 gallons that stays in the back of my truck during hunting season. Um, and then in my backpack that I carry 4 liters of water with me. And yeah, I pretty much go through all 4 liters pretty much every time I go out. I carry 3 liters of that in a Hydra pack that stays in the backpack with a little hose that I can grab and drink water all the time throughout the hunt and throughout the walk and the hike. Um, but then I also keep a separate 1 liter bottle, and the reason that I do that is when I burn through that 3 liter Hydro pack, I notice, oh, I'm out of that 3 liters and I'm back down to 1 liter now. And that gives me the cue that I'm low on water and I should probably start planning an exit strategy to start heading back to the truck. When it comes to water, you could never have too much water. Now, yeah, you got to balance with the amount of weight you're carrying, but you would be surprised how much water you burn through, especially here in the South where it's really hot and you just keep sweating and never cooling down. You will burn through so much water. All right, the next thing that you need to go start hunting is a way to carry your meat. when I first started hunting, I didn't think I needed one. I didn't buy one. I didn't buy any way to carry out meat. I just figured out I'll throw it over my shoulder and I'll hike it out. And then the first big game animal that I shot was a hog that was probably 250 to 300 pounds. And I tried. I tried to carry that thing out by myself and it did not work. And man, in that moment, I would have paid so much money for a game cart. And before that, I was skipping out and I never bought a game cart. I ended up having to call a buddy come help me get it out. And now I own a game cart. It's not super expensive. I bought it for like $30, $40 on Facebook Marketplace. They have some really good game carts out there that about $200 for the one that I really want, but I haven't shelled out the cash yet for it. And this is going to depend on where you're hunting too, because like a game cart doesn't really work in the mountains super well. So you might need a backpack with a meat shelf, a big pack like that. But you need some way to transport your meat because once you do finally get one down, if you didn't plan for it, it's going to be a struggle. Here in the South, most people don't actually quarter out their meat. Most places people quarter out their meat. Here in the South, it's not really what people do. Most people just take it straight to the processor. I'll use the processor sometimes, but it really depends on my scenario at the moment. But having that game cart, super useful. And you don't need to carry it all the way in with you every single time because you don't know if you're going to get something every single time. I usually keep mine folded up in the truck. And then when I do finally get something, yeah, it sucks. I got to walk an extra 3 miles back to the truck to go grab the game cart, an extra 3 miles back to go pick up the deer, and then that 3 miles back with the deer. But you're so full of adrenaline when that happens that extra 6 mile walk, you're happy to do it to go get that game cart to carry out your meat. So you need something to carry your meat with. The next thing that you need to start hunting is some form of hunter safety gear. Uh, all the states are going to vary. Most states allow bright orange colors. Some states allow pink and purples. Um, most states allow a bright orange, and they're going to have all kinds of different variations of how many square inches and what type of orange you can wear. If you need orange on private land versus public land, my suggestion, just wear enough orange that you know that you'd be seen, um, whether it's required or not, because I've had many times where I've been able to spot another hunter from like just so far away. And the fact is that deer are dichromatic, so they don't see the color orange. They see the color orange as the same thing as green. So if you're worried about your camo getting messed up by the orange, then get some orange with some breakup to it, and then you'll be just fine. Now I've got some examples here. This little hat right here, these are available from Walmart with a vest that comes with them. And it's like $4 for the hat and the vest. So if you're just trying to get started, that's a great way to get started. It's like $4, maybe it's $8. I don't remember, but very, very affordable. And is your life worth $8? I'd say your life's probably worth a little bit more than $8. So get some hunter safety orange. And then if you want, you can step up to something like what I use. This is a very nice vest. Um, this is probably $100 vest. You see that it's got this like breakup orange color pattern to it. It's got all kinds of pockets, all kinds of stuff. That's a very nice vest. You don't need something that's nice, but if you really get into it, then maybe look into something like this. And then this is my favorite orange hat right here. These weren't super expensive, maybe $10, $15 or something. And again, you see that it's a breakup orange color. So you've got this like camo pattern to it. Again, orange is seen by deer as a green color. So as long as you have this breakup pattern to your orange, hunters, humans can see you just fine. Deer don't see you super fine. Now you also see on here, I've got my hearing protection that I keep attached to all of my hunting hats that I actually use. I don't really use that other one super often. That one just stays in my truck. So I keep these just like this. And then if I ever get an opportunity, you can just real quickly put those in. and take your shot, and you have your hearing protection ready to go. So you need something that's orange, maybe pink and purple if those are allowed in your state. Even in states that do allow those, I'd still recommend orange just because it's so universal. Everyone sees orange and they know what it means. Now, those bright pinks, yeah, you'd see it and you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. They allow pink now, but it's not as completely universal like hunter safety oranges. All right, the number one thing that you need to get started hunting. This one's not a material object, it's not a weapon, it's not a physical thing. It is a passion. It is an interest, a drive, a why. Why do you wake up at 4 in the morning, sometimes 3, 2 in the morning, depending on how far you're going, to go get back there long before the deer are moving? And why are you getting up and doing that, and sitting there and getting bit up by bugs and walking through spider webs? Why are you doing that? It's hard. It's really hard. And to get up and do all of this is not an easy task. So you need a reason that you are doing this. For me, it really started with I had an interest and I wanted to try it. And then the fact that I couldn't was what drove me to figure out why. Why couldn't I do this? Why is it that this guy could go out there and go kill this awesome buck and I would go out there and see nothing? Not even a single deer. I got to a point where I thought deer were fake. I thought it was all a conspiracy to sell hunting gear. Uh, so my drive was figuring out how it works and why deer do what they do and why they are where they are. Um, that was my passion. That was my drive. You need to find your drive. Why are you out there? Because it's not easy. You're hiking through hot days and cold nights, and you're sitting there getting attacked by bugs. You need to know why you're there, and you need to find that drive, and you need to decide that you're going to keep going back to try it all again the next day. All right, here at the end, just needed to wrap up the video. I wanted to throw in here a few things that aren't needed to go hunting, but are some things that make it a little bit easier. Number one is something that gets you off the ground. I use mostly tree climbing stands. I also have a saddle setup. I don't really use the saddle setup. I'm not super experienced with it yet, but it definitely helps to be able to get up off the ground. Now, again, this is going to depend on where you're hunting, because like if you're hunting the mountains of Wyoming, you don't need a tree stand. There's no tree. There's mountains. You just go up the mountain and then you can see things. But here in the South, everything's so dense. There's so many trees. There's so much foliage that you need something to get up to be able to see down and be able to see around you. The other advantage to that is that deer don't look up very often. So if you are up off the ground, out of their line of sight, they don't typically look up at you. The next thing is climate appropriate camouflage. Um, Now, we can debate all day of what camouflages are actually needed. The reality is, you need something that is relatively close to the same colors around you, and you need something that breaks up your outline. You don't need the expensive Kuiu or First Light brands. Those are great and all, but you really don't need it. I only have one set of Kuyus, and the only reason I bought them is they're buy one get one free. That's the only reason I ever bought expensive camo like that. You don't need something like that. For the most part, I use basic Walmart camo, or I just use some green or brown shirts. You just need something that somewhat matches the environment that you're in and breaks up your outline a little bit. And then the last thing, four-wheel drive vehicle. Now, again, you don't need a four-wheel drive vehicle. You can get out there in your little Toyota Camry that you've got, your Honda Civic. You could go do that. I like having my four-wheel drive vehicle. There's been a lot of scenarios that if I didn't have four-wheel drive, I would have gotten stuck. I would have gotten lost. I would not have been able to make it home that day. Um, Now, with that being said, if you don't have that kind of vehicle, you can still go out there and hunt. You just have to be a little bit more cautious about where you go. You're not going to go very far back into those dirt roads that have ruts and mud and all kinds of stuff like that. You're just going to have to stop a little bit sooner and walk a little bit farther. So again, you don't need a four-wheel drive vehicle, but for me, it makes it a whole lot easier. All right, this has been 10 things that you need to get started hunting. Now, this has been Drake from the Unspoiled Hunter here with these videos. Please like, subscribe, comment, do something, give me some interaction. Let me know that you guys actually enjoy seeing these videos. They're really not that easy to make, and I work a lot, so it's hard to get the time to put these videos together. Um, so please just let me know if you actually enjoy these videos, actually want me to keep making content. I've got a few video ideas out there right now that I'm going to film. First one that is really important that I really want to get out there is some form of showing you how to use onX and how to use that compared to a hunting regs book, and be able to look at the map and figure out where to go hunting. Because that was for me my biggest hurdle was where do I go? How do I get there? When am I allowed to be there? And I'm going to do a video showing you exactly how to do that. And then there's another video I wanted to do. I was just going to pull all my rifles off the wall, the different weapons I have, and just go over what they are, what specific scenario I have each one for. To be perfectly honest, it's because I love ballistics and I find rifle ballistics fascinating, and I have several rifles because I'm curious about all these different cartridges and what they do differently. But those just some video ideas that I've got out there. If you have any other ideas of things that you want to hear about, things you want to learn about, please put that down in the comments so that I can try to make a video for that for you. Again, this is Drake from the Unspoiled Hunter. Remember, the only unsuccessful hunt is one which you did not learn anything.